Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is Wednesday, May 29th. And I'm going to, I asked a question to my community in Burning Gold earlier about what they wanted to know about and got a bunch of responses. So I'm going to try and cover as much as I can in answering the questions that came up. But I do want to give you guys a minute to get here. So say hello when you get here. Please share the video with your friends who are spiritual or spiritually minded and want to grow and want their questions answered. Got a really a lot of different kinds of questions. So like I said, I'm going to try and cover them today. Hi, Beverly. So say hello when you get here, hit that share button, hit that like button. I want to be sure that I can see who's here. Hi, Janet. Hi, Janine. Hi, Carmen. All right. Not sure why you didn't get a notification. I just came on, so the notification probably just happened. Bella's got my phone, so she's just now sharing it. So welcome. Before we begin, I'm going to shamelessly plug, because I love this shirt. I just designed this shirt a few weeks ago. It says blessed. It's a t-shirt, and I like my t-shirts I don't like long t-shirts. I like to roll my sleeves up. And this one when I got it, I started to tie it. I didn't tie it today. But the reason I like this shirt, I want you guys to see, is because it has angel wings on the back. And I also made a jacket, and you can get this at our store. I put the link inside, but we made a jacket too that has angel wings on the back. Whoops. It's kind of a bomber style jacket. It's more of a sweatshirt, light sweatshirt. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, but I just like it. I like the wings on the back. I like the fact that it says blessed. Some of you that like to wear t-shirts and stuff like that, if you're interested, just go to the store. It's super soft, super comfortable, softer than like your average t-shirt that you get in the store. It's an anvil, and it's an extra soft t-shirt. So I like it too. I know I like both. That sweatshirt has become sort of my spring summer sweatshirt for Seattle because it's always chilly here. But I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, like the wings on the back. So super cool if you're into that sort of thing. I thought I'd share it with you guys since I happen to have it on today. Anyways, we're going to jump right in. And I am covering questions again that were asked in Burning Gold. I put a post up this morning and said, I want to hear from you guys what you want to know, what you want to learn about. So I'm going to go through those questions. But let me say hello to everyone else who's come in. Hi, Donna. Hi, John. Hi, Andrea. It's so good to see you guys. All right. So let's start with number one. The first person that made a comment was Maya, and she apparently was part of the Equifax and Facebook hack and had money stolen, and all of her accounts were hacked. And she's got a bunch of con artists contacting her on her landline and her cell phone and by text. And someone else who's tried to use her credit card on Amazon, trying to recover from it without feeling the fear over being taken advantage of. And she's got to really get beyond that fear because and I understand, while I have not been, at least not recently, thank you, God, I have not been a victim of identity theft. For whatever reason, I'm just super protected that way. And I'm very, very blessed. Not to say I always was. I had that happen to me back in the 90s. Someone got a hold of my Social Security card and were taking out loans in my name. And it was like a new girlfriend to an ex-boyfriend. He had some of my paperwork. And it took me a while to clean that mess up. And it still once in a while will show up on my credit report, which is so stupid. But she's saying, how do you get beyond that? Because she needs to sell her house. So here's my advice to you. because there's this whole thing, you know, where we get very fearful when something like that happens. How do I protect myself moving forward? You know, and you get these belief systems going, the internet's not safe, and why me? And you can go into blame, you can go into shame. But the worst part is when you go into fear and you're afraid to make a move, like selling your house, and who do I trust, right? It's the same energy when you get cheated on, right? Or you get unexpectedly fired from a job for something that you didn't do wrong, someone else did but blamed you. Like, I deal with these issues with clients all the time, and working them through these issues because it's a shock to the system, right? It's dishonest. It feels like you've been violated. But even if it's not that, if it's even greater, you know, and it comes down to someone broke into your house and you no longer feel safe, right? All of those things we have to be able to get over and not begin to build a story around it that you're not safe, that your finances aren't safe, that your information is not safe. We can't stay stuck there. Things like tapping, things like self-hypnosis, even going to a hypnotherapist, to really work through the underlying sort of ego triggers, that because it is a trigger, and then it can develop into a program. Yes, exact same energy when your car gets stolen or broken into as well. Absolutely. You have to be able to work through those things. And sometimes it's a matter of talking through them, journal about it, but choose your beliefs and be very clear about the story you're telling yourself and others surrounding that. You have to shift that energy. It's not good to be held hostage by things other people have done, whether it's cheating on you or stealing your financial information and ruining your credit. Right? Not everybody out there's con. And I will tell you, daily, I have put myself on all the opt-out stupid phone numbers. Daily, I get calls from these credit card fraud BS. I get calls from, and I'm sure you guys have gotten them too, the robocalls from a computerized voice. This is the IRS. You have fraud, and if you don't contact us, and blah, 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 right? Like, you're going to do what to me? You're not even real. Right? So I've done it to where I've called these numbers back, and they don't say anything. You know, they're gonna try to get your information, but that's not even from a hack. That's literally just because they got your phone number, or they're just robocalling. They're just going down a list of phone numbers, and you can't be afraid that it's going to keep happening, right? Sometimes when those things happen, it's a wake-up call. I mean, my daughter and son-in-law, on their wedding, like 2 days before their wedding, got their car stolen from their apartment complex, right? And then they found the car, had to bring it here, lost a bunch of stuff in the car, but there was a lot of emotional fear and charges already going on the week of the wedding. Not long ago, a few months ago, actually March, I think, my daughter was at the mall, and they were at the food court, and there was a shooting at the mall right in front of them. And they went into lockdown at the mall. And then the police made it seem, or the reports on the news from the police made it seem like it was no big deal. But it was called an illegal discharge, right? They didn't even say it was gunshots. They said illegal discharge. Illegal discharge of a gun, 4 shots fired, the mall went on lockdown. They didn't say that because they didn't want, I think, people to be afraid to go, because it's one of the largest malls in our area, and they've had several shootings there. But that happened to my daughter, and she went into a massive place of fear. 4 days later, they went to go to Target. They had one 5 minutes from their house. She had a feeling, intuition, and told her husband, I don't want to go to that one. What if there's a shooting? Because there's been drive-by shootings there before. And they didn't go to that one. They went to one 15 minutes away from their house, and found out, in fact, had they been at that mall or at that Target, there was a shooting in the parking lot. 3 people were shot, and it was a random drive-by shooting. And after that, her husband's car got broken into. They didn't take anything. They just broke into it. maybe they did take things, but it was like boom, boom, boom. And she was in such a heightened state of fear that they literally took out a loan to break their lease to move to a different neighborhood because she couldn't be in that city anymore. And that city is like 15, 20 minutes from me. And moving relieved enough of that fear that now she feels safe going out and shopping. Why am I sharing this with you? Because it's the same damn thing, right? Like whether it's a shooting or it's someone got a hold of your personal information and created identity theft, it's a violation. It's a shakeup of your safety systems. But you can't be in that place where you think it's always going to happen, right? We have students in Charm Life. We have a student in Charm Life specifically that has been through, ridiculous amounts of violation from other people and harassment. And thankfully she has the tools to deal with the ongoing onslaught from all of this, but it's caused her great harm. Does she stop living? No. Do any of us stop living and stop doing the things we need to do, like sell our houses or apply for a loan or get a credit card because we're afraid now that information is going to be out there? No. You just take safeguards. You change your password all the time, right? You make them very complicated passwords that people can't just guess. And you pray protection, and then you stand in a place of, I am always protected, right? I'm always protected. And don't build a negative story around it. That's how you deal with that. But first, you've got to get beyond the fear and the emotional reaction. And when else did you feel like your safety was threatened? Go back as far as you can and remove all of the triggers and emotional responses and memories that is tied to similar events, so that you don't get stuck. So that's my first thing, my first answer to you guys. You get daily calls too. God, it's so annoying, isn't it? But whatever. I did. Oh yes, you're applying to Carmen. Thank you, Andrea. I did design this one. Bella does some designs. She just released, which I haven't shared yet, the first mermaid design for Pisces. And she's working on the rest of the mermaids. So she's releasing a whole astrology of artwork she's done. She's making mermaids for each of the signs. And she did just post on our store yesterday, I think on a mug, a Pisces mermaid. It's really cool too. So you guys should go check it out. But this shirt is available on our store as well. Anyways, all right, let's go to the next one. And I hope that answered that for you, Maya. Michaela and this is something, actually, Michaela, I'm going to come back to yours at the end if we have time. Molly is saying, I know you've been talking about the crazy energy this week. It's been affecting my relationship, leaving me really depressed, trying to stay positive. Molly, you're not the only one. I know a lot of people right now are seriously being affected by this heavier energy. Right. I'm in several groups. I'm in juicing communities. I'm in the ascension groups. I just sort of lurk. I don't usually comment that often. It gives me a good kind of idea of what people are struggling with. And I like to watch kind of, where people are at. It gives me food for thought when I go into meditation and talk to spirit about things. So know this, from juicing communities to weight loss communities to the spiritual communities, everybody's feeling this heavier energy. And you can call it depression. I personally would not define it as depression, right? But let's talk about depression. For those of you who've not heard me speak about it before, and for those of you who have, let me remind you, okay? Spirit has told me this for a number of years, and this is what broke me through my depression 20-something years ago. Spirit said depression is, if you think about depressing, like when we push down on something, depression is us pushing down our true nature, our superpower connected to our higher self, our real selves, making decisions and thinking thoughts that are out of alignment with who we truly are creates a depression. Our spirits, our true nature, our souls, whatever you want to call it, whatever you refer to it as, right? our souls are naturally joyful and loving and happy and peaceful. So when we start to think or feel or draw images within our minds of things that are against that, against the power of love within us, the power of joy and choice and freedom within us, the power for us to create our own realities, we create a depression of our spirit and of our souls. We're not standing in our power. This energy that has been going on now for a while and is really kind of amplified in different ways this week. It's been kind of heavy. It does feel like there's things going on, right? And it's pushing a weight on us. It doesn't feel happy. It doesn't feel liberating. It feels heavy. Don't call it depression though, for this reason. The more you talk about, I feel depressed, something's off, the more you're going to feel that, right? Whatever that heaviness is, do your best to investigate what is causing that, what thoughts are there, what issues that are hiding behind your own shadows, things that you're trying to avoid, things that your ego doesn't want you to address, that are creating attachments for you, that are weighing you down. And then decide, choose. In this moment, I don't want to feel that. I want to feel joy. So what do I have in my life as I look around that's beautiful, that brings about a sense of joy? It can be petting a cat, I almost said petting a fish. If you can do that, go ahead. It would make me laugh. Go out and walk in nature. Go look at the flowers. Thankfully, here in the US, it is springtime. So the flowers are actually popping up. Go sit in the grass, go walk on the beach, listen to something like the sounds of the ocean. Do other things other than focusing on how you feel bad, but then get a journal out, a pad of paper, simple notebook, spiral bound, whatever, right? Just get a notebook out and start writing down all of the things that you can think of just off the top of your head that are causing that heaviness for you. If it's affecting your relationships, and it is, like a lot of relationships, most of the readings and counseling and coaching sessions that I've been doing in the last week or two is about massive blowups in relationships and creating conflict between two people, is because when we're walking beside somebody in a partnership, even with our kids, right? Or our parents for that matter. My dad lives with me. So we've had our own like power struggle conflict going on here in the last couple of weeks. And I have like really, when that stuff starts happening, rather than react, I just go into hiding because I don't want to say anything in a place of reacting from my ego to cause more conflict or to play with his ego. And my ego would love that. My ego's like, but you're right. You can justify it all the way to the bank, yet isn't going to help anything. So knowing that it isn't, it's going to cause more problems. I just go and find something else to do, or I go hide in my room so I don't have to deal with whatever his pissiness is. But understand that whatever is coming up surrounding your relationship right now is coming up to be addressed in a loving way, in a patient way. We talked yesterday about tolerance, right? Tolerance and patience. That's what is absolutely needed as we walk through these heavier emotions, as we begin to recognize and see that there are some things that we have not addressed within ourselves and with our partners. It's a time to get vulnerable. It's a time to get honest. It's a time to speak your truth and listen to your partner's truth in a non-judgmental, non-reactionary way, in a place where you can, really just validate what they're feeling, what they're communicating as being real to them and being their perception, and also being available for that interaction. Because when we allow our partners to say things, and I get spirits like people are going to be resistant to this one because not all of your partners are spiritually awakened or even on the same path as you, can sometimes then create this whole thing of, I don't want to tell them they're right. I don't want to validate them when they're not right. But if you take that stance, you're not standing in love, right? It's far better to allow someone to feel validated in whatever their feelings are, right or wrong in your perception. Validate your partner for the sake of love, for the sake of holding the relationship together, with the full-on expectation within you that when it's your turn to speak, they're going to be there for you. Don't get angry if they don't know how to validate, but at least hold that expectation that your words will sit with them. Slow down your speech when you are actually communicating those tougher emotions, because sometimes we get so jacked up emotionally when we start to tell someone something and we end up projecting blame, right? And we try to project shame. We want them to feel bad for what they've done. And that's not the right way to go about it. If you need help with that, just book a session with me and I'll help walk you through it and work you through it and help you speak to your partner in a way that they can hear you. So one of my gifts is being able to tap into your partner and know how they need to hear something as well, and how to help you word it. That's non-emotional and not hyper-reactive, because that's where the problems come in. One of the things Spirit is reminding me too during this energy, get out of black and white thinking. Get out of the either or thinking, fatalistic thinking that everything's going to turn out horribly and oh my God, because we have a problem in our society where we always feel like we have to take a side and it's very black and white and there is no middle ground. But as spiritual seekers and as those who are on the path of enlightenment and awakening, we really want to bring it to the center. You're not right and you're not wrong, and neither are they, right? You each have your own perception, which is colored by the filters of your past experience from your life up until this moment. So you can't see things 100% clearly because your filters are not allowing for pure, clear, unadulterated vision and understanding. Neither are mine. And I've done a ton of work on myself, right? But I'm aware of that. So be aware of that within yourself. It will help you with your communication. But do ride through this energy. Don't define it. Don't. It will lighten up. Certainly there will be more clarity as we get into the month of June, but like I said yesterday, it's going to take into probably the middle of next week before that clarity actually comes and the ability to articulate yourself comes. Use tools to stay grounded. We work on these every week in Charm Life class, absolutely, and it helps. It does help to stay in the flow and helps give you a point of accountability and a point of learning. So if you guys don't know what Charm Life is, just go to my website, BernadetteGold.com, click on Charmed Life. There's a video from the students. There's all kinds of information about what it is and what it can do for you. And it truly can and will transform your life. We have some new students in there, and one of the students messaged me earlier today. I just did a private session with her over the weekend, and she was telling me, I want a new job, but I don't think I can get one, blah, blah, blah. And we talked about it, and was offered to apply for a job today. That's exactly the days off she wanted, and the hours she wanted, like that fast. And she's only been in Charm Life. I think she just joined this month. So, yeah. Her life's already changing. And that's not a rare occasion. That is something that continually happens when people join Charm Life and do the work. Just because I validate someone else's thoughts or feelings doesn't mean I agree. It means I agree that they have the right to own their thoughts. Exactly, Beverly. Yes. And the truth of the matter is, the more we resist someone's feelings and thoughts, especially someone close to us, right? The more we resist validating them, the more we create resistance with them, right? Like, even if you think I'm a horrible person and I did you wrong, I'm still going to say to you, when you tell me how you feel, that absolutely makes sense that you feel that way. Because in you explaining yourself and how you reacted or what it meant to you, it is going to make sense. Are you right? Not necessarily. Are you wrong? Not necessarily. Does that give us a point, though, where you finally feel validated? You can release the tension and the emotions and the shame and the blame and the guilt and anger enough to move through it? Absolutely. And when we love someone and we're in a partnership with them, or any kind of relationship for that matter, we want to create that sacred container for them to be vulnerable and to offer them the space to communicate how they're feeling, to get it out of them. Because if it stays within them, it's toxic. It's poison. Wendy, true story. Has it been 2 months, Wendy? Yeah. Cool. I couldn't remember when you joined. Time is really flying. So Wendy's the one that actually just got offered that job. So, and she's a Charm Life Master student right now. So super happy about that. And again, those results are not rare. That's what happens when you start to do the work in Charm Life. And messages coming and signs and yeah, that's the other side effect of Charm Life is your gifts start to grow. All right, let's see. What was the other questions we got? I know I've risen to another level. I'm loving the clarity. However, that was another partner one. Okay, Lillian. So I hope, Anita, I answered that for you too. Lillian's talking about, ego. So she was saying she's been told she has a lot of healing work and going through stuff. Also, my ancestors will be healed. Why is the ego such a big thing? Why do we have to go through everything now that we are going through to actually make it more of a quiet thing? I love that question. So good question, Lillian. And I've talked about this before in previous live streams, but it bears repeating. So here's the deal with the ego, right? The ego is somewhat of a filter over our conscious minds. It's subconscious, right? It is connected to your inner child. And most of us, almost all of us, have at some level a wounded inner child. We have an inner child that is trying to protect itself and the ego from any kind of hurt or injury that it's already experienced, right? Most of us don't. If you don't know about this work, most of us don't do the work of meditating and communicating with our inner children. And so across the board in most people's lives that are not awakened, the thing and that's operating in their lives or running their lives is a child. And I've talked about that in previous webinars, but you think about your development and all of the woundings you have as a child as you're developing your sense of identity, your understanding of how the world works and, who you are in the scope of the world. And you end up with all kinds of beliefs and programs from your parents to your teachers, to your friends, to the bullies at school, to whatever, right? All the way up until however old you are now. The ego is the filter the mask that hides who we truly are and what we truly think, right? It's that filter that keeps us from saying what we really think, right? Thank God we have that filter, because I think if most of us just blurted out, like people with Tourette's, everything we were thinking about or imagining, the world would be a much messier place. But from what Spirit's explained to me, the ego is also that place of offering us free will. It gives us a choice. Do you want to explain to others or expose yourself to others in a very vulnerable, open, authentic way? Or do you want to hide behind these masks? And the ego has many masks, right? Like the ego changes forms. It's like the chameleon that, for empaths especially, the ego allows you to hide behind a happy face when you're not happy, hide behind intellect and knowledge when you speak and articulate certain things, but that's not really what you're thinking and feeling, right? The ego is that place where it gives you a choice of free will. Do you want to act in hate, resistance, anger, resentment, guilt, or do you want to act in love? Love is connected to your higher self, your true self. The ego is where things like fear reside and anger resides and all of that. So why do we have to go about all of these challenges with the ego? Because we were given the gift of free will, right? Without the ego, we would just be in our higher selves connected to love. There would be no choice in the matter. We would live in a, utopian society. We would live in bliss. And when we're no longer in physical form in third dimension, dense reality, we are in that state connected to higher self. But we wanted experience. We wanted to play with different ways of being and different states of being. And so the universe gave us an ego, a filter, a mask to live through, right? So it's up to you whether or not you want the ego to be in control of your life, or you want to consciously control your life and tame the ego and quiet the ego, because the ego is full of the programs of mass consciousness, the programs of fear, the programs of your inner woundings, the programs of society expectations and materialistic BS, right? Misunderstanding, separation, anything that creates separation. And the ego literally is that place of free will of, do you want to be separate or do you want to be connected? Do you want to be whole, right? That's why we have that. So it's not a punishment, but it is something we have to work at overcoming, because we come into human form with the ego fully intact, and then it's up to us to remember who we are. It's the veil of illusion that closes down our remembering of who we truly are. Once we begin to understand the power of who we are at a soul level, then the ego starts to lose its grip, and we can overcome those fears and those limitations and move beyond it. And it's not as hard as you think. It just takes conscious work. And a lot of us are lazy. We're lazy. We don't want to have to do that work. And so we just go about life reacting and living by the same rules we've always lived by, which were programmed into us as children. Depending on how conscious your parents were and the environment that you were brought up in, religion and school and whatever else, you've probably got a whole lot of ego programs running. It's just the way that goes. So I learned my inner child was very wounded, needed my attention. One more thing taken on in Charm Life. Yay. It is a lot of work, sort of, but really it's not. And the payoff is great, right? The payoff is amazing. So it's good to do that work. It's very, very good to do that work. All right, moving on. All right. Zohora. She's curious about my journey with and relationship with the angels, guides, and spirit. She says, getting better at discerning what is divine and what is not, and in receiving messages. Any advice or tips on how to improve that connection and keep it going in times of resistance? Love to hear about ways to introduce small children into the world of manifestation, especially when they're gifted. Are there games, books, tools you use with children when they're younger? All right. So great question, Zohora. One of the authors that I have truly loved, she's the one in charge of a class called Soul Fast, a class where she teaches how to tame the ego. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So one of the authors that I really like is Richard Bach. He wrote, what was it called? He wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull way back in the day. So one of my first, I think I was exposed to Richard Bach long before I really understood that what he was writing, while they called it fiction, was not really fiction. It was really true, based on working within the laws of attraction and the universal laws. And he has some really good kids stories. So Zohora, and any of you with small children or even teenagers, get some of Richard Bach's books. He did a series on ferrets, which was great, that teaches kids about manifesting, about, showing up in a loving way, of being helpful and loving. They're really, really good books. Wayne Dyer, I think, had a couple kids books too, but the stories, because they're story based, are really good on manifesting. As far as my walk with the angels and stuff, I actually just wrote a book, which is in editing right now. It's been months in editing with my editor. God bless her. She had to take like 52 years of my life that I kind of jumped around, and she's reordering it and making it, more succinct. And we're going through it. Like, it's been months. We've been working on this for months now, and we aren't even all the way through the first draft. So that will be out. And Zohora, you're a Patreon Gold member. If you go back into January and February, I think December, I released the raw draft form of some of the chapters that spoke about the angels and some of my first experiences. So you can go, those chapters are in the Patreon files for the Gold members. So you can go back and read about that. I haven't released any of the other chapters because we totally reordered it. Like, she's changing all of it. And it would be really confusing if I started to release some more of the draft chapters because it's all changing. We've removed some things. We've added some things. It talks a lot about my walk with angels and guides and defeating demons and stuff like that. So, but you are a gold member. And for those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's just a place where you can sign up to support my work monthly, and you get a bunch of extra content. Gold members get monthly coaching with me once a month, and then some extras. And then if you're a silver member, you get weekly reports and different classes that I'm teaching within the Patreon community. So yeah. Anywho, okay, so and at some point I may come back and do another video and answer some more questions more specifically about kind of my walk with the angels and guides and stuff. I've done a lot of videos about that. But yeah, Richard Bach is a good one for kids to talk about that stuff with manifesting. One of the things I will say, for those of you who have kids and you know they're gifted, you know, kids naturally are tuned into their intuition. They naturally are, if we would only listen to them, right? If we would only encourage them. One of the things I did with Bella, being way more conscious at 35 and having her than I was at 25 having Brindy, is whenever I noticed her looking like at the ceiling and smiling and talking to what seemed to be invisible beings, right? But I could sense something. I would just ask her, you know, I would talk to her about it. And as she got older, before the veil completely shut down on her, I would ask her what she saw. Bella's had incredible visions, and she's seen those who've crossed over. My grandmother in particular at our old house used to come by quite a bit, and it scared Bella. She slept in my bed for a long time and in my room for a long time because, you know, we had visitors and to a small kid at night to see someone walk through the wall is a little offsetting. I just always talked to her matter of factly so it didn't scare her, right? And that's the thing I will say to you guys is just ask your kids, do you ever see angels, or, you know, do you ever see, and show them pictures of those who've crossed over in your family. Do you ever see them walk by? Ask good questions, right? And if they say they had a dream about something, ask them about that too. That's one thing me and Bella sort of check in with each other every single day about is dreams. Like, you know, I'm teaching her how to interpret her dreams. For those of you who want to know more about dream interpretation, go to dreammoods.com and start tearing apart the symbols. Cindy had asked, and she's a Patreon member, Cindy had asked about a dream she had, and she sent me a message about that. And something someone said as she was sort of half between sleep and dreaming, and it was actually one of her guides speaking to her. So I had already answered that in a private message, but if you do have that, right, where you hear someone talking and you're between wake and sleep, chances are it's one of your guides or an angel. Heed the messages that are coming through and deal with whatever resistance or shock or emotions come up over that too. That's how I deal with that stuff, because I get a lot of messages in my sleep for me. He said, Grandma scared me, smiled and floated away like a balloon. Yeah. You know, the more we encourage them and whatnot, that it is real, right? The more they remain open to it. The more we tell them that ghosts aren't real, and the more they will close that down, because that's the programming. Of course, you know, I've had many talks with my kids about, we don't talk about mom's gifts. You know, we don't tell people that I'm psychic and like, it's not for outside consumption. It's one thing when people come to me specifically for my gifts to assist them, but because of other things that have happened in my oldest daughter's life, with people finding out that I was a psychic and accusing her of me being a witch, right? It caused problems for her. So it's something that I've always talked to them about. Like, we can talk about these things at home, but not everybody believes in it. And that's okay, but we do. And because we believe in it, we get to experience more of it. And that's just the way that works. The more open you are to those things, the less resistant you are to those things. Discernment, and I've done videos. You can go onto YouTube. Just look me up on YouTube, Bernadette Gold. I've done videos about discernment, the difference between spirit and ego, because our egos can sometimes mask itself to sound a lot like spirit, but you know when it's not, because it's not based in love. When it's based in love, it's coming from spirit. You hear your name called a lot, then nothing else. Sometimes when we get messages, we don't always remember them, but your being, your soul is receiving the message, whether you remember or not. Truly, like, I'll forget a dream. I'll wake up and move so quick that the dream leaves. But I know there was an important message in it. There's no point in beating myself up about trying to remember it. When I need that information, it's funny. Weeks later, I'll be like, oh my God, that's right. I had a dream about this. And then I have access to that information. So truly, like, you know, whether you consciously remember or not, subconsciously, you got whatever messages were there. So, yeah. All right. All right. So lots of questions answered. That one a lot longer than I intended it to. I hope that answers some stuff for you. Hi, Marion. How are you? I hope that answers a lot of stuff for you guys. I'm going to try and come on and do, you know, answer some of these questions for you guys. It's always good to have your questions answered. I put the link for Burning Gold up in the description for you. So just click on that link. You can join Burning Gold. It's just my free community. I have other groups too, but those are paid groups for my programs. And again, you can go to patreon.com/Bernadette Gold if you want to become a Patreon member to get some extra content. As far as upcoming stuff that I want to talk to you guys about, I actually was going to do a monthly report today and not do a weekly for my Patreon members, but I decided against that, and I'm going to go ahead and do their weekly report, and then I'll catch the monthly sometime this weekend with all of you, because I really want to spend some time on the June report and the June forecast. On top of doing normal, just throw some cards for each one of the elements, I actually want to look at what the astrology is going to do interactively with all of the signs. There's a lot, I think. Thankfully, June, the number 6 is harmony, right? It's balance. It's about really like kind of coming to a place of acceptance with things. I think things are going to be a little bit easier energetically in June, but I'm not guaranteeing it, because we are all about shifting, changing, ascending right now. And to me, it just seems like there is going to be a little bit of a break with the energy as far as not so much intense emotions. But I want to spend some time with spirit and getting some information for you guys. So I'll do that one, the monthly report. I'll try on, I know that Saturday is the 1st, so I'll try it Saturday, potentially Sunday. I have some clients coming in Friday, so I'm going to be too busy Friday, but yeah. So for the rest of you, if you still have questions and you are in Burning Gold, just add your questions to that thread and I'll address them in a future live stream. Again, if you have friends that are like wanting to know how all this stuff works and they're just now waking up, share this video. Sometimes it helps people to hear things differently from different teachers. And there's amazing people out there that are doing amazing work and delivering answers to questions. And maybe the way I explain it doesn't resonate with everybody, and that's okay. But you know, if it does resonate with them, then it's perfect and they can hear it, and finally a light bulb will go on. So have a good day, you guys. Patreon members, I will see you tonight at 6 o'clock for our weekly report. Let's see what's coming up for Thursday through next Wednesday for you Patreon members, and then the rest of you, I'll catch you for the monthly report sometime this weekend. Have a good one, you guys.